If you thought the issue of mini DRS and flexible rear wings was an issue of the past left in 2024, you are mistaken, because the Red Bull Racing team have complained to the FIA during pre-season testing about Ferrari and McLaren in particular of their rear rings and its legality. So much so that the FIA will be introducing even harder, more stronger, stringent tests of the flexibility of these rear rings for the first race of the 2025 season down under in Melbourne. Now, this is again an additional layer of tests that we didn't think we would be getting at this point in the season. And some of you may have seen the rumblings on Twitter, but maybe thinking, well, how have we got to this point? Well, let me show you how we've got there. So where does this all derive from? Well, on screen you're going to see back-to-back shots of the rear rings of the McLaren, Ferrari and Mercedes throughout the pre-season testing days we had last week. And you'll see different levels of flexibility. Now this is where the issue stems from.
I was a bit too dismissive of Aston Martin, saying they're going to be fully focused on their Honda-powered design for next season. Actually, having looked more closely at this year's car, I think they're going to be trying some really clever another goal.
Absolutely. Even in testing, you do not want to be conceding position. And a man with a great bird's eye view.
Not only that, but during the press conference, the Red Bull technical director launched accusations at both Ferrari and McLaren. And so it is quite inevitable that this would have brought a lot more attention and eyes onto those rear rings, as we have now seen. And we have the effects of that in plain sight now. And to make my point even more, here is a comparison of Yuki Tsunoda in the Racing Bull of this season in the exact same session.
Buoyed by that success and performance of last year, but is there a risk in trying something a bit different?
Yeah, it's massively high.
So again, you can see there is a slight movement, but nowhere near the extravagant amount that we saw on the Mercedes one. New positionings of cameras as well as related visual references which we are used to, such as the kind of stickers on different points on the rear ring, will be introduced into the Australian Grand Prix, the season opener for 2025. Now this had already happened last year, starting from the Belgian Grand Prix, but will be taken a step further for the race opener this season. And essentially the FIA want to use these tools and these cameras that they will place additionally on the rear ring to exactly measure and to see visually whether teams are still using this so-called mini DRS. Now of course we need to go back and discuss last year with McLaren and what happened with their rear ring. Now, as we remember, this all came to light thanks to some users on Twitter, where they highlighted the issue of the rear ring of McLaren, or rather the flap, moving up and down during the braking phase, more than was legally allowed. Now, of course, this was banned and gotten rid of and removed, and McLaren then had to make revisions to that specification of drag level or downforce level of rear ring for later events, namely at the Las Vegas Grand Prix. So there is of course a big precedence of the FIA getting involved and making changes to this. And it goes a step further. It isn't just the rear ring, but there's also going to be additional tests for the beam wing on all of the Formula One vehicles. And this is according to the article 3.15.12b. And this is the ring which is placed just above the diffuser but below the rear ring. And it's subjected to a load perpendicular to the surface of 150 N, at which a deflection greater than 0.8 degrees cannot occur. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, there is a set level of flexibility that the rear ring, the front wing, the floor and other areas of the bodywork are allowed within a Formula One car. And as you can see on the screen now, this is the 2025 FIA technical regs, and they are stating what the levels of deflection or flexibility are for this season. Now, I believe what we saw with the Mercedes goes above and beyond the regulated level from which it's allowed. So this is quite a new story breaking in the last couple of hours this Wednesday afternoon. It's something which there was a lot of talk and discussion around social media with regarding rumours, but now we have had official confirmation from a very respected and reputable news source. And it's just another interesting aspect to add to the overall conundrum and pecking order of 2025 Formula One. And as we all know, there is the technical directive on the front wing that will come into force in round 9 at the Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona. So there is a lot of issues to have to be ironed out in terms of flexibility of both the front and rear wings of these 2025 F1 cars. Is this going to have a big effect on how the teams are looking and how they line up and shape up in terms of the pecking order when we arrive at Melbourne? Are we going to see a slightly different pecking order than the one we saw in Bahrain? Now, of course, that could quite easily happen because the two circuits are drastically different. We go from a circuit that has lots of high-speed corners to one that has a huge variety of medium and slow-speed corners with just a couple of high-speed corners set around the Albert Park circuit. And so I wouldn't be surprised even without these tests to have had a slightly different pecking order, as well as the issue of the ambient and track temperatures also having an effect. So I think this adds to the build-up we have of the opening race of the season and the intrigue surrounding the pecking order we're going to get there. And I think we maybe could be in for a little surprise in terms of the competitiveness of certain teams. Anyway guys, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, do leave a like on the video, and if you're new and have enjoyed the content, subscribe as well for all content on Formula One this season. I will catch you all without doubt in some more Formula One videos this week. See you later.